The walk-on Indians are now 1-1 on the season. They went down to Monona last Friday night and got a 28-12 victory over the MFL Marmac Bulldogs. Coach Chad Beermann here to recap that game and preview this week's game against Independence. Coach, what were the takeaways after watching the film of that one?
Well, we made a lot of improvement from last week, and you know, Monona's players are a lot more on our level as far as talent wise than Decor's. I mean, Decor's got a good squad in their 4A, and Monona MFL is smaller than us, as a school size, but they've got some pretty good, really good offensive line and some decent skill players, but they were more on our level as far as competition.
And the running game really got going last Friday night, 6.8 yards a carry, 264 yards on the ground. What made the running game click?
The offensive line was talking a little better this week. I mean, there's still plays where they're clearly not, but they're communicating with each other on the same page and staying on their blocks. And, and our backs are continuing to improve as far as carrying the ball and reading the holes. And but I think that's the communication was the biggest part as to why the running game went better.
And your quarterback, Jackson Brinkman, was a big factor in the running game with 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. What does Jackson bring to the table specifically as a running quarterback?
He's very shifty as a runner. I mean, he's not a big kid, but he reads the holes and cuts back and has a good feel for where things are going to be as far as that. And then, he does throw the ball fairly well. We did just miss on one, and we dropped another. We had a wide open touchdown that we dropped that would have added to his passing stats too. So he does a nice job, and he starting to understand the offense, and if a play call comes in that's switched, he can fix that. So, I mean, he's continuing to grow as a leader for the team.
You got out to a 12-0 lead at the end of the first quarter last week, and you had a 20-0 lead at halftime. Any reason you can pinpoint for the good start last week?
Well, we took the opening kickoff, went down and scored, kicked off, and then they had a fumble on their first series that gave us good field position. We went down and got 2 scores on the board, and then it was really a workmanlike performance by the offense. I mean, it wasn't like I said, we dropped what would have been a long touchdown, and we missed another would have been like a 35 probably yard touchdown, but most of our scores came from inside of 10 yards. So it was just a matter of sustaining drives, getting first downs, and then finishing the drives and getting points on the board.
And defensively put up some pretty good numbers, had a couple of takeaways, had 9 tackles for a loss plus 3 sacks. What was working defensively for you last Friday?
Again, we were able to communicate and get lined up. Like 2 weeks ago against Decor, we really struggled to get lined up, and we simplified a few things. But for the most part, it was just kids talking and make sure they're on the same page, make sure the coverage that we're all on the same coverage. And it's a lot easier to play defense when you're all playing the same defense.
And another tough road trip this week. You head down to Independence, who's off to a very good start, 6th-ranked team in Class 3A. What have you seen about the Mustangs? What are you expecting from Independence this Friday?
Well, their first 2 games, NFV and Crestwood have been able to move the ball on them. They've both scored in the 20s and number of rush. I mean, running the ball up and down the field, but at some point in the game, Independence has been able to make a play that kind of pulls them away from in Crestwood. It was they scored and then did an onside kick, got the ball back and scored again. And NFV, there was a pick 6 that got thrown and some of those situations. So they are a very explosive team. They're averaging almost 20 yards a pass and like 6 yards a run or something like that. But their passing game, they get huge chunks of yardage in the passing game. And there's a lot of 1, 2, 3 play drives where they're scoring points. And so they're playing a lot of defense, which is probably why their tackle totals are so high. But then when they're on offense, they're not on the field very long usually and putting points on the board.
All right, Coach, hopefully the road can find you well this Friday night. Keep your kids healthy. We wish you best of luck.
All right, thank you.
Chad Beermann, head coach of the Walk-On Indians at Independence this Friday night.